Nice camera. Oh, snap.
I'm getting a camera for my birthday. Get one just like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our mayor, the Honorable Mayor.
How's everybody doing? Good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What are we talking about today?
Yes, sir. We have a persuasive essay. Well, it really is a paper. They spent a lot of time doing a 5-page research paper on gun violence.
On gun violence. Okay.
And this is also a part of the curriculum that the state of Pennsylvania is saying that at this grade and at this age, that they should be able to do this.
Yeah.
Peer reviewed, works cited, MLA formatting, and they put in a lot of work.
Okay.
And we wanted to invite you here to be the final piece of our project.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just hear from you guys right away. I know I have to wear this mask, but it's hard to communicate with the mask on. Why don't we just go into questions? I think it's easier if we just start with questions because.
Hello, my name is Jayana Steffler, and I'm in 7th grade. How do mass shootings differ from other types of gun violence?
Part of my concern and upsetment with this whole Second Amendment issue is the Second Amendment was written back in a time where the guns were a single-shot, muzzle-loaded long gun that was used to fight the British. And the Second Amendment also says, in furtherance of a militia, well, we don't need a militia because we have the Army, and no one really needs to have a gun anymore because we have the U.S. military, and we have guns now that shoot 20, 30, 40, 50 bullets at any given time, and are available to people in Pennsylvania. It's easier to actually get a gun than it is to get a driver's license. So to me, it makes no sense whatsoever. We are probably the most armed nation in world history, and we're probably one of the least safest. So all this talk about the Second Amendment and the Constitution and all that is bull, as far as I'm concerned, because it's all about making money from people selling guns to other people. If I am a convicted felon, if I've been convicted of a crime, I can't buy a gun. But if you're a friend of mine, you can go buy a gun and give it to me to do something bad with it. If the gun gets traced back to you for buying it, you can just say, my gun was stolen. Stolen out of my car, stolen out of my house, and there's no penalty for you whatsoever. This is one of the worst states in America for guns. New Jersey, you have to really stand on your head and jump through hoops to buy a gun. New York State, New York City, California, this state is wide open, and anybody can buy one. When I was 50, I'm 64. When I was 15, I never saw a gun. I didn't even know I didn't know anybody that owned one. Now you can walk around with a gun at 14, 15, 16 years old. There's something terribly wrong with our system. We don't really have mass shootings like they do at Columbine and Uvalde and those places. We have people shooting each other. For example, last night we had a shooting over a parking space. If people didn't have guns, they'd have a fist fight over a parking space, not shoot each other. Over the weekend, two brothers shot each other. One died and one was wounded over some argument. When you put guns into the mix of people's interactions, the likelihood of them using those guns go up. So, again, thankfully, we had a couple of mass shootings, one on South Street last year, but generally, our people just shoot at each other as opposed to going into a school, God forbid, and shooting up the place. So and when I've traveled to Europe, to Canada, I don't think about guns. I mean, I was in Madrid, 1 o'clock in the morning, walking around, having a good time. Never thought anybody was going to pull a gun on me because they don't have them. And I think until we as a country get to the point where we have to understand that this needs to be stopped, we're going to continue having this struggle. So. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Makai, and I'm in 8th grade. What gun control laws currently exist in Philadelphia?
I'm sorry, say again?
What gun control laws currently
None.
exist in Philadelphia?
None. The state of Pennsylvania, the legislature in Pennsylvania has preempted anything we do when it comes to controlling guns. So if a council member decides they want to eliminate a military-style weapon, or if they want to reduce the amount of bullets that can be shot out of any particular handgun, we are automatically precluded from doing that by the Pennsylvania legislature. So we have no control over guns whatsoever, and that's a big problem. Because in other parts of the state, owning a gun to hunt, target shoot, whatever, it's fine. It's part of their culture. Here, it's a totally different situation, and we have no control over it whatsoever. Yes.
My name is Giselle Alexander, and I'm in 8th grade. My question is, what could be done to reduce gun violence?
Better education of all of our folks. Better education when it comes to guns itself. More opportunity for people to work and be productive, as opposed to kind of some of our young people getting lost and hanging on corners and not having what they believe is a future. But as far as controlling the guns itself, I just explained to this young man, we don't have the ability to do that. So we have to continue to invest in education, invest in job training, and invest in things that keep people away from that life. Because a lot of our young people believe that they're not going to live beyond 25, 30 years old, so they don't take life seriously and they don't respect life. There's nothing you could do to me or say to me it's going to make me want to shoot you. I mean, there's nothing you can do on social media. There's nothing you could say to me personally that's actually going to make me want to hurt you that well. But too many of our folks, because of social media, because of beefs, because of back and forth, they decide that they're going to take out their anger by killing somebody or shooting somebody. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. But we have to continue to provide opportunities for people to do things differently than what they're used to doing in the neighborhoods they live in, and to improve those so that they have some respect for each other and for themselves.
Hello, my
Hello.
name is Amira Frank. I'm in the 7th grade. Will fewer guns result in less gun violence?
Say again?
Will fewer guns result in less gun violence?
Fear of guns?
Fewer.
Fewer guns, yes, absolutely. I mean, people fight over parking space. Look, I grew up in South Philly, grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, lower middle-class neighborhood, blue collar. I've been in fights in my life, but I never had a gun to shoot anybody. And I think that because guns are so available to people who are in confrontation with each other, the likelihood of them pulling the gun and using it is higher than it would be if they didn't have them. So I mean, if it were up to me, there'd be no guns. I mean, the only people who should have guns are the police or the military, and unless you have a shotgun to hunt or something like that. But some of these guns, these semi-automatic weapons with 30, 40 shot clips, I mean, just like a machine gun. It's crazy. I used to own a gun back in the 90s. It was a 6-shot revolver, which you can do some damage with, but you can't just shoot up a whole corner with a 6-shot revolver. I mean, so that's part of the problem, is these guns are more and more potent, more and more shots, and more available to anybody. We could go out this weekend, or whatever, I think it's once or twice a month, to a gun show out in Bucks County and buy a bag of guns and come back and sell them out of the trunk of the car in the neighborhood. And there's no one stopping it. And that's part of the problem. I just think guns should be eliminated, period. There's no benefit to them at all. Yes?
My name is Aaron Grant and I'm in 8th grade. What are some things that has worked to reduce gun violence?
Educational opportunities, job training opportunities. I mean, some of these young men, it's mostly young men, there's also some ladies who are, involved in this, but it's mostly young men, giving them the opportunity to have training and education to do something different than what they're used to seeing in their own neighborhoods. Because if you have a job, you have a family, you're taking care of your kids, you're taking care of your spouse, the likelihood of you wanting to have a gun, use a gun, get involved in arguments about guns is likely to reduce. And since we can't control the guns because we live in Pennsylvania, I think having people have other choices to make will reduce the violence. But in the end, people have to decide that whatever they're angry about, whatever slights they feel that the other person has done to them, should not result in you taking a gun out and shooting anybody. I mean, it's just, I'll never understand it. I really won't. Yes.
Hi, I'm Amia Frank and I'm in the 7th grade. Do you think the new curfew times will have an impact on gun violence in the city?
No. I think it's going to just impact young people who are working or coming home from work or coming home from activities. It's going to take police off the street to take that young person to a center. It's just, I think elected people feel like they have to do something, and when you don't have a lot of options to do things because the state is what it is, you think that having a curfew will help. It might, but I don't think overall it's going to really make a difference. Just might. I mean, I signed the bill because council passed it unanimously, and there's no sense in vetoing something that's going to be overridden. But I just don't think it's going to be that effective. Yes, sir.
My name is Phila, and I'm in 8th grade. My question for you is, should Second Amendment rights, which are the rights to bear arms, be modified to reflect present times and situations?
Yeah, we started out earlier talking about when the Second Amendment was written, it was about a single shot. I mean, think about some of the mass shootings. AK-47s, AR-15s. They didn't exist back in the 1775 when the Second Amendment was written. And yeah, it needs to be adjusted. I don't think people need a handgun at all. I mean, there may be some circumstances where sports, hunting, that kind of thing. I mean, the biggest holiday in Pennsylvania is the opening day of deer season. So people have cultural cultural experiences that we need to respect. But having a enhanced clip with 30 shots and a semi-automatic handgun to me doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There's no purpose to it other than to hurt somebody else. Yes.
My name is Phila and I'm in the 7th grade. How strict are gun background checks?
There were 41,000 guns sold in Pennsylvania in the month of November 2022. Just in 1 month. We used to try to slow walk carry permits. So the police would kind of drag it out, so it would take a long time to get a carry permit. The state of Pennsylvania court system ordered us to issue permits faster than we wanted to. Used to have a reason to have a carry permit. Either you worked at night, or you were carrying a lot of cash, or you had a business that you had to go do deposits at night. Then you had a reason to carry a gun. Now you don't even need a reason to carry a gun. It's just, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I don't understand the mindset that people have when it comes to guns. No. Yes.
I'm Tonight Kowa, and I'm in 8th grade. Is the NRA the only organization who promotes the
I'm sorry, say again?
Is the NRA the only organization that promotes the Second Amendment?
I mean, it's the main one. I don't think the NRA represents gun owners. I think they represent gun manufacturers. And they've convinced the gun owners, the pro-gun people, that they're representatives. What they do is they represent Remington and all the other companies that make the guns. And this is all about money. It's not about Second Amendment rights. It's not about the right to bear arms. It's about money. All the negative stuff that we deal with, whether it's heroin, fentanyl, guns, any of that stuff, is all about greed. And the greedy. I'll give you an example. There are 8 gun stores in Philadelphia and 2 gun stores in Upper Darby that are responsible for 15,000 crime guns over the last 5 years. And they're legally purchased. So unless we do something differently in this state, we're going to continue to struggle with this. And as long as you can get a gun faster than you can get a driver's license in Pennsylvania, something's wrong. Something's wrong with it. Hate to be a downer, but it's rough. It's rough here. And in other states, as I said before, New Jersey, New York, California, it's harder to get a gun, and they're actually safer than we are.
Hi, my name is Michaela Sims. I'm in 8th grade, and my question is, what are some things we could do to protect ourselves and our families from gun violence in the city?
Talk to people your own age and people that you know may be holding a weapon or have a weapon in their house to do something different. I think parents need to be more forceful with their own children. If you think that your son or daughter has a gun in their room, to toss that bed, find a gun and get it out of the house. If there's a gun in the house, to make sure that it's secure, that there's a gun lock or a gun safe in the home. But it's also important to talk to each other about social media. A lot of this stuff happens because people are dissing each other on social media, and one person feels that they've been disrespected enough to go out and actually take retribution on somebody. I mean, again, as I said to this young lady, nothing you can't say anything to me that's going to make me want to kill you or shoot you. So people need to grow up a little bit and stop this nonsense. And if you really have a beef with somebody, go confront them without a gun. And I think that's what we can do is peer pressure. People your age can talk to people your age and to explain to them and kind of interact with them that this is not the way to go. I mean, I'm not like a tough guy. I haven't had a lot of fights in my life, or maybe a dozen over the course of my life. And most of the people that I've had confrontations with, I wound up friends with. But shooting someone is the end. I mean, it's the end of their life, and it's the end of your life, because you're going to get caught and go to jail for the rest of your life. Is it worth it? No. And people have to understand that it's not worth it. That beef, that disagreement, that disrespect that you perceive is not worth their life and your life to be ended. And the other issue, frankly, is it affects your families. So when you lose a child, your life is wrecked. I mean, your life is wrecked forever. And if you lose a child to jail, your life is also wrecked forever. So I think being more respectful of your own families about what would happen if you were killed or you killed somebody it's less selfish. And I think it's just kind of constantly having this conversation that this is not worth it. This is not worth it. It's hard. Let me tell you something. It's been the hardest thing that I have to do every day is to confront and deal with where we are as a society when it comes to guns. And to feel somewhat helpless because I can't physically control the sale of guns. I can't shut down a gun store. I can't stop the sale. I can't. I just legally cannot do anything as far as the legislature and the court system. But I will tell you, for every life that's lost, every kid, every young person, every person, period, that we lose, it eats my heart. And that's why it's difficult to do this job, because it really is hard. And it's hard for everybody. It's not just hard. I'm not whining about me. I'm just saying it's hard for everybody. But when you're the mayor or you're responsible for people's safety and you can't keep people safe all the time, it really does work on you. It really does work on you. So.
Okay, let's thank the mayor for taking some time now
Thank
to
you.
come and speak to us.
Let me just say how impressed I am with the school. I'm impressed I am with your the way you handle yourself, the way you carry yourself, the way you interact with me and interact with each other. I think it's really very complimentary to your staff, to your principal, about how the school operates and runs. And I'm very, very impressed. I'm very impressed, and I'm very confident you're going to have a great, successful lives ahead of you. And just keep up the good work and do your best. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I know you have to run, but if you don't hold it, you can
No, I'm
grab a
good.
few
No, I'm good. No, we gotta go. I'm behind. Take care, everybody. Happy New Year. Thanks, you. Yeah. Well, I just want to stand behind here? Or?
Right.
Yeah.